Welcome to the RGLT Economics. Today I want to make the argument that corrupt corporations are more dangerous than corrupt politicians. And I want to lay out 4 points in support of this argument. The first point I want to make is that it's in terms of money and greed. You see, when politicians are corrupt, they take bribes. They participate in racketeering. They may even involve themselves with some kind of some part of the underworld, right? Organized crime, etc. But all that must take place under the table. Doesn't matter how corrupt a politician is. I have not known historically any politician that is proud to be in public, proudly corrupt, that is taking money in public and want to publicize about his or her corruption. On the contrary, corporations are very proud of their greed. They are proud of being able to make money and doing all sorts of deals as long as basically it helps them to make money, because ultimately corporations are, and they should be, responsible for their shareholders. Of course, now we have this for a few decades there is this push for corporate socialism, for corporate social responsibility, for ESG, sustainable development goals. All those are good. At least not necessarily implemented well, but their intentions are well-meaning. But that does not change the fact that corporations, they are mostly designed to be greedy. And corrupt corporations are unhinged, and they are greedy to the core, and they are proud of it. That's number one. So there is no dissonance at any level between corruption and financial incentive, between corruption and their existence. In politicians, there is this dissonance. Secondly, the politicians have a limited term. Doesn't matter. Even dictators can be displaced. Even authoritarian regimes, they never last very long. And in democracies, politicians are routinely replaced by new ones. They retire. Of course, these days in some countries we have octogenarian rule, but this is more of an anomaly, because usually politicians don't stay in the same position for very, very long. But corporations have a much longer lifespan. And when corporations are corrupt, they have different ways of sustaining themselves. Even if you break up corrupt corporations, they have subsidiaries, they have their partnerships, and the financial interests, the greedy interests behind these corporations, these corrupt corporations, can actually live on beyond the existence of the corporation in its original form. That's the second thing. The third thing is that politicians all have an audience, and with this is basically their constituency. But corporations, they don't actually have a constituency. They have a consumer base usually, or their clientele, depending on which industry they are in. But when corporations are corrupt, they have tools that they can manipulate so that their customers may be uninformed, or perhaps their customers will be required or mandated to basically continue using or purchasing their goods and services, regardless of how they feel about this relationship. And it is also possible for corporations, for corrupt corporations, to use counterproductive, what is the word? Anti-competitive practices to basically kill off the competition and become the monopolistic player, so that they can avoid any competition, and even without their strong persuasion or mandates, customers may not have a choice but to accept whatever that is available, even though they are not very happy about it. That's the third point. Whereas when it comes to the politicians, they always try to sweet talk to their constituency. They want to pander to their constituency. They want to gain the confidence of their constituents, their voters. That is not necessarily the case when it comes to corporations. Of course, these days in some places we can see that some people have come out. Some politicians have come out and said publicly that it is not the people who vote that matters. It is people counting the vote. Now, when it comes to when a political system reaches this point, I guess perhaps politicians, corrupt politicians and corrupt corporations are not so different, but still, even the person who made this claim still wants to be seen as not being corrupt. And that is, I think, still one step better than a corrupt corporation being in charge. Now, finally, the politicians, they function within a certain region, their constituency, right? It could be on the county level. It could be on the provincial level. It could be the state level, the national level. Whereas there is no boundary for these large corrupt corporations. They are multinational, and they don't have loyalties to any loyalties or limitations to any specific country. That means that they always have another resort, and so the limit, the boundaries that they can push is quite a bit further than the politicians can. What I want to say when making these points is that, you see, some people are saying that perhaps people who are going to control the 21st century are some of the big companies, tech companies who control information, who control the computing power, and banking, big multinational banks who control the finances, who control the international trade, and then there are large military weapon suppliers and pharmaceuticals who control conflicts, who control people's mind through all these mind-altering and gender-altering drugs. That may be, but I don't necessarily think that is going to happen. But that is not the point I want to make. The point I want to make is that if that is to happen, it is worse than any type of authoritarian regime that you can imagine that has ever taken place, at least in the last century. Because there will be no limit to what these people these large corrupt corporations will do. And I want to make a side note, perhaps walk a little bit back from this. What I said about these 4 points about corrupt corporations do not apply to every corporation, right? It is only a few very power-hungry corporations that can develop or perhaps degenerate into this type of essentially fascist entities, right? Corporatism is an essential part of the ideology of fascism, but when fascism as an ideology first evolved, corporations were supposed to be mostly predominantly national, and multinational corporations, I think, it's about multinational corporations with supranational power, with the 4 points that I just mentioned are really the wet dream of a lot of the fascists of a century ago, because that is absolute control of power, right? Once these people get power, really, I think we have to look at some of those dystopian films to get inspiration, like, I don't know, Blade Runner, I don't know, I think whatever. Basically, there's this stream of films called cyberpunk, right? Essentially, that will be exactly what is going to happen. I'm not saying that necessarily will happen, but if that takes place, it will be the end of at least capitalism, as essentially there will no longer be a free market that resembles any type of any of the most lenient definition of a market. It will be strictly, tightly controlled market, purely designed to extract wealth and everything, power from the population and from the planet and from any other planets that these corporations will be able to get their hands on. So this is very dangerous, but I think that currently people are too preoccupied with a little bit of this geopolitics that to pay enough attention to the dangers granting too much power to some of these benign-looking corporations. I guess that's all I have to say today. Thank you very much for listening. By the way, I am already starting to post a lot of the photos that I've taken during my month-long road trip across South China in May 2023. So please find them if you're interested, so inclined. drjlt.com. Thanks again. Have a great day.